for an ARD type job at OPE, and I stuck with it throughout all the interviews that I had there. Some of the different titles for the ARD job, came with different responsibilities, but they were pretty much the same. And I applied to whatever would really take a 2-year experience position and a bachelor's degree.
Before I went to the OPE, I was mostly searching for full-time, either like assistant residence director or resident director positions. I wanted a live-in residence hall experience, and I wanted to work with the resident advisor staff. During the OPE, it didn't necessarily change, but I wanted to keep my options open. So during the OPE, I did 2 interviews with schools where the position was a graduate assistant. And it was good doing that because it kind of opened my eyes up to what it could be like and what the experience would be like at other schools with a graduate assistantship. But then following that, it made me realize that I wasn't personally interested in graduate assistantships, so I'm still interested in full-time positions.
For me, I wasn't completely sure of what I wanted, so I did a mix of professional jobs and graduate assistantships. So I would say when I went to OPE scheduling interviews, I did 75% professional, 25% graduate assistantships. Following OPE, I applied online through different websites for more graduate assistantships rather than professional. I think when you first consider a position in residence life, you automatically think of working for Syracuse just because the department's very strong. It's something that you're very accustomed to. If you were to work here, you already know your way around campus. You kind of know how the job, the job responsibilities, not necessarily all of them. For me, I was definitely torn, and it was something I talked to Jen a lot during the entire time, whether I wanted to apply here or not. And what it ultimately came down to is that I wanted to kind of get out of my comfort zone. So of course, I love Syracuse and I love this department and I loved being an RA here, but I also wanted a new experience. So I didn't want to kind of mix my undergrad experience with a professional career. I feel like it would be a very hard transition to go right from an RA and a student here to now becoming a professional here. I have a lot of friends here that I'd like to keep, and I know being a professional may sometimes put a strain on that relationship. So for me, it was just trying to get out of my comfort zone and challenge myself a little bit. I feel like if I worked for Syracuse, there are things behind the scenes that I'm not familiar with, but I wouldn't be as challenged as much as I would working at a totally different place where I don't know anybody.
Walking up to me, expecting words, happens all the time.
I just counted this before I came. I know I had 10 before I went. When I got there, I looked at a few of the other schools that were there. I went back the first night I went there, I looked at some of the schools that were there that I might have passed over beforehand, but thought it'd be cool to interview with them. I went back that night, researched a little bit about the school. I wrote them letters, and I think at the end I picked up 3 more. So I mean, it was pretty good. But some of the schools beforehand will have already filled out their interview time slots. I ran into that with a couple schools. So what they did was they just talked to me during the social afterward, and it was really informal. And some of them asked me it wasn't an interview, but some of them asked me interview questions, while other ones were well, thank you for applying, we'll keep your name in mind.
I had maybe 2 interviews scheduled, but I had emailed all of the schools that I wanted to speak with, intent of interviewing with them, and some of them got back to me, some of them didn't. One of the schools said that they didn't have time to interview with me, but then they said that they would schedule a phone call interview, and though they said that, when I got to OPE, I found some more schools, and I applied to not only that one, I sent in my resume, but I also sent in my resume to other schools. while I was there, which was nice because then I got back a lot of interviews, and I had about 8 interviews while I was there, which was great.
My number did not change. I went in with 18 interviews, which was very overwhelming, to be completely honest. It was a lot, but it was a little bit stressful just trying to collect your mind. By the end of the day, you definitely felt the day dawning on you, so it was a little overwhelming having that many.
Present company accepted, present company accepted.
If they were interested in setting up an interview with me, then they would get back to me about what their availability was like compared to my availability. And through email, we would pick a time about when I would be interviewing them at the OPE. And for each candidate on the OPE website, they have like a schedule, like a calendar of the 3 days that you're there. And the school would go on and fill in a time slot on your calendar. So it was really easy. At first I thought that, you know, you had to, it was a really elaborate process. You had to go onto the human resources like website. Some of them did ask me to do that, but generally just sending them an email was acceptable.
It happens every night.
First thing that I did when I researched was saw if I was qualified for the position or not. There are a lot of positions that are master's preferred there, but some of them were like master's preferred, but you could still apply for if you were getting a bachelor's degree. Some of them had like a certain amount of years of experience. I didn't necessarily want to apply for a job that I was just going to be told no. And then I also looked up, you know, like the things that were in the position descriptions that I was interested in, and also location of the school, and facts about the school. So like what's the school size, is it a private or public school, things of that nature. And then little things that I would be able to do, so if they had any like, you know, professional development, or if I could be like a mentor to any like groups on campus, or advise any groups, things like that.
Definitely looked at their department's webpage, what the mission was, kind of things that they've been doing. Some websites were a little bit more helpful than others. A few of the schools, their websites weren't very helpful. They didn't give you much information, so it's kind of just doing a Google search, seeing whatever you can find. Looking at their Facebook pages, a lot of the residents, the Office of Residence Life departments had Facebook pages, some had Twitter accounts, so just looking at social media as well.
I did a lot to prepare. I'd say before the OPE, one of the things that I focused on was like finding a mentor to talk to. I think that was extremely helpful in you know, sorting out you know, what I wanted to do, whether it was like full-time position or graduate assistantship. It was helpful to understand like what a conference is actually like. It was helpful, you know, saying what I'm scared of and, you know, what I should be expecting. I also am personally a very organized person, so I created a binder. I should have brought my binder.
You should have brought the binder.
I can go get it later. But yeah, I brought a binder to the OPE. It had all of my information in it, so it had my resumes, my cover letter, and it also had information about each school I was applying to, the things that I enjoyed about the school, the time of the interview for each school and the location, and anything that I wanted to remember for each position, because some schools will ask, you know, why are you interested in the school? So having little notes that I could remember that, you know, why I actually was applying for the position.
I made sure to flag every single email that I sent out, as well as flag the emails that were responded to, and keep it into a folder on my Mac.
I also did a lot of research on the schools that I knew I would be interviewing with, as well as schools that I knew would be attending, but I haven't yet scheduled an interview with yet, ones that I was interested in.
Present company, excluded every time.
The conference center, I was extremely surprised when I saw it. It looked just like a residence hall because it was a residence hall.
Present company, the best that you can find.
Everyone was really helpful. You walked in and there's literally flyers on flyers on flyers everywhere throughout the conference center, different schools, and then on each floor of the North Tower where you would also have interviews, each school would have, on that floor would have a different, a table with information about their school, free stuff, which was nice. And then they also had various people walking throughout who would just, if you were interested in that school, or sometimes they just came up to you and introduced themselves and what school they're from, and if you were interested in interviewing with them.
The mailroom had these, I can't even describe, these shelves of mailboxes, and when you register for the OPE, you get your candidate number, and your candidate number is your mailbox number. So that was there as well. And then the mailroom was also a place where you could write letters to school. So if you were interested in applying to a position once you got to the OPE, you could write a letter to the school and attach your resume to it. And then that was also where you could schedule interviews to schools that agreed to interview you.
It was a lot of buildings, and I thought it was a little confusing at first because there were so many things going on, and there were tons of posters for different schools, and people seemed like they knew exactly what was happening, and they were all in suits and smiley but a little, intense.
The basement was more there were tables and draping between the tables, so you couldn't see the person next to you, but it was pretty loud. So during those interviews, you had to focus more on who you were interviewing with and try to block out the distractions. And you waited in a common room in the basement for them to come get you, and then you walked over with your interviewer to your table. But on the upper floors, once you got off the elevator, behind the elevator lobby was a waiting room, and that's where you waited for people to come get you, and you interviewed in, they looked like residence hall rooms, so they had a closet, there was a bed, there was a dresser. Some schools would decorate the room with different pennants and different shirts and draping and what have you. It was probably a fire hazard, but it's fine. And they had different configurations. So some schools would sit on the bed and interview you, and some schools would have chairs set up. So that's what it was set up like. It's interesting.
Present company, expected present company, just laugh it off. It's better than it seems. Present company, excluded in every way. Present company, makes me want to stay.
They definitely put the numbers, in perspective. So there's basically double the amount of candidates and there were employers. So you kind of felt that competitive atmosphere, but at the same time, everyone was very friendly. For me, when people saw that I was from Syracuse and if they were interested, they definitely attached to me a little bit. But it was nice talking about the school and then learning about them. Somebody who I actually met at OPE interviewed for a position here, so it was nice to see him on campus interview. So it was a good networking experience as well.
As soon as I found out that I was from Syracuse, which you should not mention, is, oh, what's Syracuse like? What are they looking for? You know, as if I was the one interviewing them.
We made friends with a couple people there, and it was helpful to just make buddies so that, you know, you saw them throughout the day and they would ask you how you were doing, and you could grab a cup of coffee with them if you wanted. So the candidates were really nice, but at the same time, you also have to stay focused. So sometimes during interview, like when you were waiting for an interview, you know, people would want to chat up with you or whatever, and it's okay to just be like, you know, like, I need a moment to, you know, review the school that I'm going to be applying to. Afterward, I just sent out a lot of direct applications to some of the other schools that weren't at the OPE that I was still interested in.
I think the part after OPE was definitely the hardest. It was definitely the waiting game. Will I hear back? What am I gonna do to, you know, keep my mind occupied in the meantime? Because if you sat there and just thought about whether you're gonna get a call or not, you would eventually go crazy. So just following up with some schools, continuing to look at other schools that weren't necessarily at the conference, but ones that may have interested me, and then just waiting to hear back from people. You know, following your gut, also being very prepared for the conference. I think I could have been a little bit more compared to some of the other candidates that went with me from SU, but definitely doing your research, and then just definitely reaching out to outside professionals, especially people who currently work in residence life, because their knowledge and kind of their experiences definitely shaped what I wanted to do.
Make sure that you keep track of the schools, because you don't want to be the candidate that's, you know, you get the question, why do you want to apply? And you say, you know, your values are my values. I like your school. You have a great student population. And you can say that. But just, you know, have background information, be knowledgeable, be confident in what you're saying.
Being positive with each other really helped a lot. You know, we're not, everybody's competition, but we're not really competition, because if you don't fit a school, you just don't. You know, it's not like they only look at what the paper says, it's also they're looking at who you are as a person. So there's really no need for animosity or like negativity towards each other.
That's something that I wish that I had, you know, done beforehand, was just, you know, feel comfortable and confident with myself, and, you know, working to understand that there are a lot of people, and, you know, when you're going for your interview, you're going to be sitting next to somebody that's going to be interviewing for the same school at the same time. And they're going to be talking about it, and you just have to feel confident in what you're saying, and be sure about the fact that you have the experience and you have the abilities for whatever school you're applying to.
They shouldn't stress out as much as, you know, I wasn't stressing out, but then like other stresses created more stress. Just take it one step at a time, you'll be fine. Everything's pretty organized and planned out, so you got it under control pretty much.
Bring Tide to go.
Killing it with close inspection, killing it can only...
It's pretty slow. Some of the schools move quickly, some of them don't. You just have to, you know, keep sending them emails. If you're actually interested in their position, asking where you are in their process.
So I wish I had gotten to research schools more and really find out what they were about. The few schools that did ask me back, I did know more about them, and I had really pointed out different things about their schools that I liked, and they were, you know, they really saw that I had interest in them, which was great because they asked me back. Then, you know, with the interviewing on campus interviews, I had to make sure that I was on top of that, because flights are expensive, and they, you know, the schools would, if they're going to reimburse you, they don't want to reimburse you for too much money. And I also had to make sure that I was getting all my schoolwork done here, as well as, you know, having time to go out there. So time management was a little difficult, but as long as you did everything early, you would be fine.
Make it worse, it sort of makes it breathe.
One word, oh, amazing.
Frazzled. I think that I was pretty frazzled during the interviews, but the interviews that I had the best positive experience with were with the smaller schools, and I had admitted I'm a little nervous, but you know, I'm gonna give it all I have. And they were like, "Thank you for your honesty. Don't worry, it's gonna be fine." You know, they're not trying to cut you down. They just wanna, you know, they want the best possible person for the job, but they also don't want to stress you out because they know that you might mess up a little bit. Everybody does.
Awesome. It's the only experience that you're going to have like it, and afterward you're going to just feel proud of yourself and all the things that you've accomplished.
Make it worse, it sort of makes it breed. Accepting presently, we all.
I got a job at Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado, and I'm so excited. It's a small school, which I'm really happy about.
They weren't at OPE, but I interviewed at the University of Buffalo about 2 weeks after OPE. Went to the on-campus interview there. It was about half a day, and then about 3 weeks later, I got a call saying that I got the position. So I will be starting in August. I will be assistant hall director at the University of Buffalo.
During the social, try not to drop a cupcake frosting first on the ground while wearing a skirt.